joined by Corin and Risa of Mushroom Plus, and we're going to deep dive into the world of protein and synthetic biology. Corin and Risa, it's so nice to have you guys here with us today. How are you both doing?
Great. Yeah. Busy, excited.
Yeah,
You're one
definitely.
of our most recent investments, so like you're really nose to the grindstone. You've had a bit of investment for Carbon 13, but now it's like, okay, we need to hit the milestones that we need to do with this money, right? But can you explain for everybody what is Mushroom Plus all about in a nutshell?
Yeah, I can do a quick overview. So, very quickly, we are engineering mushrooms to be 10 times higher in protein and comparable to meat. And we are doing that through using synthetic biology, which we will touch upon a little bit throughout the interview today as well. So, I'm happy to leave it at that.
How did you guys team up? How did you meet? What's the complementary skill sets for Mushroom Plus? Like, did you meet on Carbon 13 itself?
So we met 6 years ago now, working together in a antifungal biotechnology company here in Manchester. Risa was doing her PhD there. I had finished my PhD and was working there as a scientist. And we became really good friends in a very male dominated lab. We had a lot of interests that we shared and we liked working together. So we became friends back then and started discussing what can science look like in the future for two people like us, women in STEM. And we wanted to work on something with a compassionate aspect and bring kind of positivity and diversity to science. We'd always wanted to do that from the very beginning of our friendship. So I had the idea, Risa found Carbon 13, and then we brought all that together, applied to the program, and got through. So one of the good things about our friendship is our backgrounds in molecular mycology. That background is extremely rare. People don't work on fungal genetics very frequently, but we came together with that background, very good friends, and so our skills and experience overlap very strongly, but we are very different people, which is really refreshing, and it means we have strengths where one has a weakness, and it gives us a really good grounding to tackle any task, both scientific or commercial. um, it's been a really interesting journey together so far.
When you guys are opening your laptops every day, what's the thing that you're most excited to do?
So, I think we have different things that excites us, but be connected and bonded by being super excited about the science. So now that we are in the lab and we are actually pursuing the scientific component of this, it's definitely something that we're both uh, wanting to talk about the most. Unfortunately, being a founder, that does not, you cannot just think about science. You have to think about the commercial aspects as well. But I think Corin would agree that the science is what gets us going in the morning.
Let's nerd out about the science then, because I want to understand a bit more about this because we've seen mushroom for protein before, we've seen alternative protein before. That industry's struggled with the investment case for that. What is it about the technical part of what you're doing which makes this so much more exciting than what has come before?
So I can speak a little bit about that, and I'm sure Risa will have something else to add to it. So we are working with whole, fresh, edible mushrooms. It's not a processed product. It's not a mycelium bacon or an additive to another food item. It's fresh produce. And all we're doing technologically is using our experience in molecular mycology is to enhance that natural protein level in mushrooms. So it's telling them to just make more of their own protein, and the final product is this whole food that everyone recognizes, whether they are vegan, vegetarian, flexitarian, or a meat eater. Mushrooms are not limited to a certain diet, lifestyle, or geography, whereas these meat alternatives that have failed to seek further investment or scale, whether that's a processed fake meat or a precision fermented protein product, those are brand new to consumers who, at a time where money is scarce, they don't want to take a risk on a new product. Whereas mushrooms, everybody knows what a mushroom is. They know how to cook it, they know how to eat it, they know what to expect. So it's an upgrade of an existing food using our really niche technological background that differentiates us from these alternative products.
So what are you doing to the mushroom?
What are we doing? What are we not doing to the mushroom? It's quite simple, not to obviously breach any confidentiality, because a lot of the pathways and techniques and how we're approaching it is proprietary. But essentially, what we're doing is we're taking the genome, so we're going to the cell level of the mushroom. The mushroom has 4 stages of growth, and it begins as a cell level, and it grows into mycelium, and then it grows a fruiting body. And what we're doing is we're taking the starting material and we are approaching it from different ways. So one way, for example, would be using a specific gene that codes for a specific protein, multiplying that. Just telling the cell, giving it instructions to make more of that. So that's one way that we are able to approach this. I'm not going to comment on how we are approaching this, but just from simplicity reasons, that's one way that you can do it. And you would have heard of techniques such as CRISPR, for example. It's a really elegant way to be able to engineer something quickly, and it doesn't leave any foreign DNA in it. So the final product just has more of its own stuff, essentially. So it doesn't contain anything weird in that sense. It's just an enhanced mushroom.
So it's not a GMO.
No, it's in some countries the legislation would still class it as GMO, but in the 4 countries that are our initial market, so and that would be starting with the UK, and then we also have North America. We have Canada, so not Canada, US, we have Australia, and then we also have parts of Asia that have the legislation on case-by-case basis. And then also we have Europe that is coming into this legislation in 2028. And essentially what the legislation says is that if there's no foreign DNA, which is the way we are engineering our products, this would be considered a precision bred organism and not a genetically modified organism. And this is, again, spreading throughout the world. There's actually a tracker that we are using that tracks where this legislation is expanding into. And we are then also able to expand in those markets without the GMO label.
Let's talk about markets. Where does this slot into the supply chain? Who are you actually going to be selling to?
So we will be B2B sales to the head of the existing mushroom supply chain, which is called the spawn company stage. So the mushroom industry is a multi-level kind of stakeholder chain. You have people that provide mother cultures at the top, which will be us. Then they sell mushroom strains to spawn companies who basically generate the seedling of the mushroom, if we think of an analogy to plants. So they kind of start the growth of the mushroom by turning it into spawn. Spawn companies sell the spawn to growers who then kind of plant that on a large scale and grow the mushrooms from that planted spawn. And then mushroom growers sell the product to retailers who then sell to consumers. So what we want to do is to slot in at the very beginning of the existing chain and utilize all that pre-existing infrastructure. We don't need to build any growth facilities, spawning facilities, factories, shops, anything like that already exists for us to use. We're simply upgrading their starting stock to have a better nutritional profile, and it keeps us low operational capital costs and also low startup cost because all we need is a lab to produce what we need to produce to then sell to the existing chain.
Are you able to share like some of the traction with the spawn companies, the appetite for this?
Yeah, we can, of course. So there's actually a domination of three, and I think if we were to put it in numbers, they probably cover 90% of the planet in terms of spawning. And we have traction with all three. We recently got flown out by the third biggest in the world to tour their facilities and pitch to them. And we are now in the process of negotiating the type of partnership that we would like to have, which might not just include them being a customer. And this is in the benefit of both parties. We get to use their facilities, and for us, we get to also have, if we talk the way that we know where our strain is going and through what procedures it's going, that's important to us. For them, they might get some sort of exclusivity. We don't know yet. This is all still in negotiations. We also had talks with the first and the second biggest in the world, and they're at the moment reviewing LOIs, which we are actively pursuing with our customers. So it's looking really promising at this stage, especially as we are pre-patent, pre-product. So I think to be able to see this type of traction with a deep tech company is, very, very positive for us.
And just to expand on that, one of the benefits of the way we are approaching this is we'd not only engage with spawn companies as our primary customer, we can also engage with growers. It's quite a tight-knit community around the world, even though it's a large industry. And we've had really good traction with growers who are also looking for a new differentiated mushroom to grow because their margins are so small. And we've had really positive traction with growers who I think 100% of growers we've spoken to actually approached us rather than us approaching them. And the way we will work with them to bring this new exciting product to market is that they would obtain the premium high protein spawn from the spawn companies, and we could also take royalties on how much mushroom of our high protein mushrooms they sell. So we engage with two levels of the value chain. So spawn being the primary customer, growers being the secondary customer, but we can obtain value from both stages. And yeah, the traction has been incredible with growers as well. They're very excited.
That's really exciting to hear. I'm going to flip to the other side then. Say all this traction continues. How big does this get? What's happening in 10 years' time if the vision is realized? What's Mushroom Plus's effect going to have been?
So our vision is global. Obviously, this goes hand in hand with the regulations that I touched upon briefly. We would like to be able to be in every store, available at a price point that is accessible to most people. Well, everyone, we're hoping. If we're looking at from an environmental perspective, having people perhaps replace or add a bit more vegetable and have a bit more meat, you need something that is easily integratable and they are able to purchase. Because I think the substitution with something like tofu is that it is both more expensive and you have to think about how to integrate it in your diet. And that's exactly why Mushroom Plus exists. We don't want any of those pain points for our downstream consumer.
And extending past the food goal for Mushroom Plus, the high protein mushroom is the first stop in what we can do with mushrooms in terms of their gene editing. So mycelium products are taking off in other sectors, such as the built environment and materials. Those sectors are working with natural strains of mushroom but they lack things such as tensile strength or fireproofing. And if we can edit a mushroom to be safe and healthy to eat, then we can edit a mushroom to improve on these other fronts that these other sectors are requiring. So we can, down the line, once we've got our technology in place, we can apply it to those kinds of sectors. But there's also scope for working on bioremediation. So getting fungi to absorb toxins out of the soil or out of the water. There is ways to fine tune that, and those scopes I've just mentioned aren't subject to such heavy regulations. So there's a lot broader horizon to play with in terms of what you do to the genetics so that it can be a better version of what's already applied in these industries. And again, we would be coming at those from a seamless integration. It's exactly what the industries are working with already, but just better.
When you are talking to investors, what is the one takeaway you want them to have about Mushroom Plus?
Corinne, do you want to take this one or should I?
Oh, sure. So to sum it up into a single sentence, which maybe is a bit multi-clause, but we want people to know that our venture is simple, scalable, and without huge operational costs. I think those are really important to investors, especially in our sector. So even though it seems straightforward on paper, the positive impacts are really wide ranging. So we want people to know that investing in this, while a really straightforward idea, has really big downstream positive effects, from environmental savings of emission and land use to a more resilient food system, because protein production can be brought indoors away from extreme weathers. It can integrate into vertical farming. Mushrooms are perfect for that. There's the humanitarian aspect that Risa mentioned. We want to be able to provide accessible nutrition globally, and also eating more, or plant-based, but mushrooms aren't a plant. Eating a variety of protein sources is so much better for human health. So we'll have a healthier population. We can support people that are on GLP-1 inhibitors by having high protein, low calorie foods like our mushroom. And this is all just from a mushroom. So to underscore all of that, a simple plan with a lot less investment requirement than other alternative proteins can have huge downstream beneficial effects. That would be the takeaway.
Okay, understood. All right then, Corinne and Risa, thank you so much. Those are all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.